The psychological nature of Pride and Prejudice. Dun dun dun!
How are the characters motivated in this text? What do they say they want? What do they really want? How do you know? Do their actions match their words?
In the book, the characters are motivated in general by marriage, whether it be for love or whether it be by status. For example, Charlotte Lucas was motivated by love and motivated by status. She was so scared of being too old and felt that she wasn't being taken care of. In chapter 22, it says, "The boys were relieved from their apprehension of Charlotte dying an old maid." And Charlotte says herself, "Mr. Collins, to be sure, was neither sensible nor agreeable. His society was irksome, his attachment to her imaginary, but still he would be her husband." This shows that although Charlotte was not in love with him, she felt that she needed to marry him because she felt that she needed to be taken care of. This shows that she does not do what she actually wants. She actually wants to be loved and she wants to have a husband that she feels will take care of her, but her actions do not match her words. Whereas Elizabeth, on the other hand, she is motivated by love and motivated by that type of marriage. In chapter 19, when Mr. Collins proposes to her, she says, "You cannot make me happy, and I am convinced that I am the last woman in the world who can make you so." This shows that Charlotte is motivated by love and she actually wants to be in a relationship where she's so in love with the person. Her actions do match her words, and what she really wants is what she actually goes after.
Is there something irrational, illogical, or conflicted about the way a character behaves?
Why? What could be the source of this behavior?
It is very irrational, illogical, and conflicted in the way that Elizabeth behaves. In this time in society, people are often married, like said before, for status, are married to be taken care of, whereas Elizabeth, she rejects that. She rejects all the norms of society because she, ultimately, the source of this is her pride, and she feels that she needs to do what she wants to do. In chapter 20, after the proposal of Mr. Collins, her mother says that she needs to marry him, or she says yes, or I will never see her again. And Elizabeth goes against the complete norms of society, rejecting her family, rejecting what her family wants her to do, rejecting what everyone else thinks she should do. And this is completely illogical, and the reason she does this is because she's prideful and she wants to do what she wants to do. She wants to be different and she wants to go after what she really loves and what she's actually passionate about, whereas in this society people just did traditions and didn't think outside the box. It didn't do anything different. Elizabeth is a perfect depiction of someone who's actually doing something different with her life.
What sexual desires or behaviors do the characters exhibit, and why? Are there any feelings that are not being expressed?
What is the nature of human relationships in this text?
Why? Okay, yes, there are sexual desires and behaviors being expressed in this text. For example, on page 188, if you turn your books to that page, Darcy finally admits his love for Elizabeth when he says, "In vain I have struggled, it will not do, my feelings will not be repressed, you must allow me to tell you how ardently I admire and love you." So in this, he's about to propose to Elizabeth, and he's finally admitting to her and himself his love for her. And before that, if you open your books to page to page 24, it shows how, like, before he expresses it, like way before, he is repressing it when he is like kind of watching Elizabeth, and he's saying, Mr. Darcy had at first scarcely allowed her to be pretty. He had looked at her without admiration at the ball, and when they next met, he looked at her only to criticize. But no sooner had he made it clear to himself and his friends that she had hardly a good feature in her face than he began to find it was rendered uncommonly intelligent by the beautiful expression of her dark eyes. And then if you keep going, of this she was perfectly unaware. To her, he was only the man who made himself agreeable nowhere, and he had not thought her handsome enough to dance with. So in this, Darcy is finally realizing, like, that he loves Elizabeth, or that he's attracted to her, but he had denied it for so long before, and he knows that she doesn't share these feelings for him, so he is kind of just like repressing it and not telling her. And then the next part of this question, what is the basis of nature of relationships in this text? I believe that throughout the text it's exhibited that all their relationships are based on their social status, because For example, Darcy is too prideful to admit his love because he's higher in social status, and he refuses to admit that he needs a woman and that he loves her. And then Elizabeth is also basing this because she views him as arrogant. So all the relationships are kind of based on this like repressed tension and like need to higher their social status and economic wealth. And that is answer to number 3. Thank you. How does the author feel about characters and their actions?
How do you know?
Is the author invested in certain characters?
And what is the source of this preoccupation?
It is obvious that Jane Austen is definitely invested in her characters because she portrays a lot of her own life through the story and through her characters, similar to when we watched the movie Becoming Jane. And a great example of this is in Austen's real life. A man named Harris Big Wither proposed to her when she was 27, and she accepted the proposal, but then she later turned it down because she didn't love him. And the same thing happened in the book when Elizabeth turned down Mr. Collins because she didn't love him. And Mr. Collins originally was in denial because he thought that it was obvious that she was going to marry him because he had a higher social status than her. But Elizabeth didn't love him, and so she refused. And on page 107, she tells Mr. Collins, "Upon my word, sir, your hope is rather an extraordinary one after my declaration. I do assure you that I am not one of those young ladies who are so daring as to risk their happiness on the chance of being asked a second time. I am perfectly serious in my refusal. You could not make me happy, and I am convinced that I am the last woman in the world who would make you so." And in that quote, it shows that Elizabeth was extremely serious about marrying for love, even if a lot of the women in that time period just wanted to get married and just wanted to move up in the world. And so yeah, it's obvious that Jane Austen is extremely invested in her characters because the storyline reflects a lot of her own personal life. Are there repeated patterns of language, actions, or images in the text?
Why are these repeated in the text?
What is this consciously or unconsciously telling the reader?
The characters are constantly concerned with the ideas of marrying and marriage, and everyone wants the economic side. They want to be wealthy and they want to feel superior, and then they want the romantic side, And so if you take it, if we analyze Elizabeth is very prideful, she wanted to seclude herself from society, and she puts up this wall so she can feel that she's independent and she feels like she can take care of herself. It doesn't mean she is a strong woman, but Darcy puts himself on this pedestal and wants to maintain his social status and wants to maintain his wealth, and so Jane Austen is telling us, like, she's showing through these patterns of like action and language and the way people see themselves. That's like, this is reoccurring because Jane Austen wants us to learn from them and wants to realize that because Elizabeth and Darcy are acting, because they're hiding their true selves by like their actions, they are they're separating themselves and they're not falling in love, which like they could be if Elizabeth didn't have so much pride and Darcy didn't have so much prejudice. So I mean, obviously that's the name of the title of the book, so it just shows you that that's the reoccurring theme. It's the universal truth is that we can't let pride or prejudice get in front of us. We have to be who we are and like not worry about our image or how people see us and just like show our true self. So yeah, I'm just preaching. Okay, bye.
Mr.
No,
Barrera!
this is incorrect.
I love you.
If you look on page, if you look, what's the page?
What is the
Are these? Oh man, I forgot.
Give these gallows an A.